yes.
Hi everyone, everyone those who are online, and also if you're watching in the future on YouTube. Welcome to the January edition of 2021 of Expert Talks. Uh, a few words about Equal Experts as a company. We at Equal Experts, we are a software consultancy. Uh, so some of the things are that we specialize in solving problems in an agile way. We approach clients in an agile way. We are a hierarchy-less organization, so usually if you're working here, there won't be a manager that you have to report to every day. Um, we also have a lot of our work which revolves around some of the excellent technical values that are in the industry right now, uh, like a more of team-based ownership, wherein we don't split work, where someone only does DevOps or someone only is a QA. So you get to do things as in how you want, and also other technical values like writing well-tested code that's constantly refactored, and pushing to production, your software to production right from the start. So yeah, that's a few words about Equal Experts. If you want to know more, you can reach out to any of us. Moving on to the topic of today. The topic of today is, will it matter if your child cannot code? So the session today will be divided into two parts. The first part will be talk, where Omkar will be speaking, and the second part will be a panel discussion where Anay will join us. So yeah, a few words about Omkar. So I know Omkar from one of the previous co-shared spaces. So he was also working in a kind of a shared workplace as me in his previous company. So he's from a interdisciplinary background. He actually holds a degree in mechanical engineering, if I'm not wrong, and he trains kids in his company which he has founded. The company's name is Coding K Academy, and he teaches kids both coding as well as designing. And that's it. I think Omkar can tell more about himself than me. So yeah, over to you, Omkar.
All right. Thank you, Tanay, for such a good introduction. And I would like to thank Anay, Tanay, and the whole team of Equal Experts for having me here for this important discussion, which I think is a need of time. Um, I would like to present my slides first, then we'll take it off with the topic. Okay, so please let me know if you can see my screen.
Yes, we can.
All right. I'm going to make it full screen. So, uh, today's topic is, will it matter if your child cannot code? All right. Uh, Now, before okay, I need to, yeah. So, I'll give you a seminar overview, and after that, I'll introduce myself and what do I do. So, first, we are going to discuss about what is coding for children. Then, is it a must? The third topic is benefits of learning at a young age. The fourth one is, why are schools making coding a part of curriculum? And next is, what can coders do in the future? Then we'll come to topic what coders cannot do in the future. Uh, and then next would be, what should be the right approach to start this journey? Now this is very important for today's seminar. This point is really important for the parents who are attending this seminar. And how should I introduce it to my child? Then next we'll see some tools and resources which we use at the Coding Key Academy, and which you can use free of cost. And after that, I will share a blueprint guide for kids in selecting their specialization in coding. And after that, we'll move on to the Q&A sessions when you can ask me some questions, and I'll address those questions to my best capabilities. Now, starting with my introduction. So, I am a mechanical engineer, designer, and an educator. So, I started the Coding Key Academy 2 years back. I was previously working in a company where I used to teach coding courses to kids. After that, I moved on to become a UX UI designer. And currently, I am the founder and trainer at the Coding Academy, where we teach design and coding courses to K-12 kids across India and UK. So yeah, that's about me. Now we'll move on to the discussion. So what is coding for children? Now, for those who don't know what is coding, for those who are not from the coding background, coding is another term for programming languages, computer programming, and so it's like you are giving specific instructions to the computer to carry out some specific task, and these instructions can be communicated through different languages, and these languages are called programming languages, right? So coding is nothing but another term for computer programming. So these different languages, I categorize these languages into parts. The first one is block based programming language, which is for kids and beginners, and the second one is text based programming languages, where you type the text and create high end programs. And why for kids? Okay, so today we are living in a computer dependent world, if I may say. And coding fuels the technology of today's world, right? So if so recently, uh, we are actually using block based programming language for kids, so that it's easier for them to understand and they don't have to sit and type the tedious code, you know. The reason it is introduced for kids, because the grasping power of a for the kids of age 5 and above is maximum, and you know they can easily pick up the coding language and be confident using it. Now if we compare a child and a grandparent who wants to learn coding, who do you think can pick up the coding language easily? The Of course, the children are easily able to uh, understand new language. They are open to learning new things. As on the other hand, the grandparents are, they are a little bit, uh, they are holding back from learning new things. That is why we introduce it to kids. And what is in for kids? So we will discuss this point actually later. We have listed down a lot of points which are a lot of benefits which a kid can obtain using learning a coding language. Moving on to the next topic is yeah. So benefits of learning at a young age. So as I said, grasping power is maximum for children. The second one is okay. So coding also. So some studies have proved it that coding also develops cognitive skills in children, and of course adults. And then of course it improves logic of children. So the way of thinking while you code improves logical thinking. The second point is yeah, they become a mathematical thinker. Of course coding uses a lot of mathematics to create algorithms, so they also become mathematical thinkers, and not calculators. uh, and It also develops arithmetic and creative thinking. So I actually did not have space for the points, but yeah, it actually boosts creative thinkings, because if you are making projects on block based programming languages, which are really interactive and visually appealing, then kids tend to it tends to increase creative thinking in children. um, Also problem solving ability. This is the major purpose why kids should learn coding. So if you want your kids to actually solve real life problems, coding can teach them how to break a bigger problem into small chunks and solve it, you know. Um and then it provides analytical backbone, uh, which is very necessary for each and every task of our lives, and of course for the jobs. uh, Now creating a program provides challenge to the coders, and it also develops resilience. So by resilience I mean the ability to bounce back after a failure. So if I'm suppose writing a program, and if there is a bug in a program, I have to analyze where, or I have to troubleshoot where the problem is, and I have to analyze it and solve it then and there. Only then my program will run. So I'm not saying that failure is bad, but once you try to overcome that failure, then it develops resilience. You plan, you code, then if there is a problem, you troubleshoot, unless you get to the solution of the problem. So yeah, it develops resilience through challenges. And yes, of course, we took the grandpa or a child example before. The child can quickly pick up on the programming language. uh, uh, and it also actually depends on the will. So if an adult is more willing and more passionate about learning, then of course there's an exception. But if I have to make a general statement, the child is more open to learning new things. That is why I said a child can learn quickly than the grandpa or the adult. uh, so yeah, how to successfully complete a project. So in our academy, where we teach programming, we don't just have concepts taught to the children. We have it project based. I believe in play, experiment, collaborate. uh, so this is my go-to framework for any course. And if there is no project, and if we are just teaching concepts to the kids, they usually tend to get bored. So in programming, you have to build a project wherein you have to see the execution of the project. Like you start from scratch, you program, you write a code, you test a code, and you can see a actual completion of a project. That gives a sense of confidence in children. And this is one of the benefits of learning how to code at a young age. uh, Now moving on to next topic, which is, why are schools making coding a part of the curriculum? Now this is kind of tricky. um, okay, so in July 2020, our government had rolled out a new education policy which made coding mandatory from the sixth grade. And uh, although I think it should not be mandatory, if you ask me, it is my personal opinion. um, you can disagree with it, but I think it should not be mandatory. It should be more of an option to choose. uh, Now let's see why schools have made coding a part of curriculum. So before the industrial revolution, um, mathematics was only taught for in fewer than 10% of schools. And after industrial revolution took place, uh, almost every school started introducing mathematics as a mandatory subject in their curriculum, because that after the tipping point, that was the center of the revolution. In the same way, today coding is like mathematics at that time. That is why maybe the schools have made it part of the curriculum. And also, if 65% of students who are taking education right now, they might end up in jobs that we don't know right now that will exist in future. And talking about futuristic jobs, of course, coding, in most of them, coding will be a part of it. Not a prerequisite, but an you know but a skill set that will accelerate your career. So and right now what we are facing is a skills gap, which has increased unemployment. So right now uh, the employer needs somebody who can do various tasks, and also have a background knowledge of coding. So if you go on to websites like some job websites, where if you read the job posts, you'll get to know that most of the jobs require coding, even if it is uh, not mandatory, but they see it as an add-on. uh, and the second and one more point here is comparing countries economies. So right now, uh, the programmers all around the world are making the average salary of programmers across the globe is slightly, or you can say is higher than the other jobs. That is why, US can be can be we can say that US has a great economy because they have more IT uh, uh, force there, and that is why maybe India somewhere thought that kids should start learning to code and get those jobs, which will in turn generate a lot of revenue. And by so if they are getting higher paid jobs, uh, then they can, the government can get more from taxes when people spend. And also if and also to secure the job market, I think government took this decision. I'm not pretty sure, but this is just my opinion. And now let's move on to what can coders do in the future. Okay, so kids, so right now this is actually my research topic, which I'm carrying out currently. So uh, I want to see how kids create their interactive toys using the knowledge of coding and designing. So in future, I believe that kids will create their own interactive toys, which they find interesting or they find it compelling. Right. So today, not every kid likes to create robots. People, kids want to create things that they like, and they want to integrate coding in that particular field of interest. So yeah, I think kids will be creating interactive toys in future. Now adults, so adults can personalize digital content. So I'm not sure how much coding will it require, but surface knowledge of coding is a must for those who want to personalize their digital content in the future. So for example, right now on the e-commerce website, of course those are at some point those are personalized. But if I want to, if for example, if I'm a if I want to shop shoes online, and if I go on a particular website, and if I have to go there, I have to type. If I'm a regular customer who buys shoes, and on the main page I don't see shoes of every time. So if I want to you know personalize it, if I want to keep the shoes section at the top, and then something like that, that is how you personalize. Of course, machine learning and artificial intelligence at has shows us that result, but it is not very precise, it is not personalized that much. But yeah, in futures coders will be able to personalize content which is available on the internet. The next point is inventions and innovations in the realm of technology. So, of course, now I would like to draw from my experience. Now, there was this kid in my class who wanted to create a new musical instrument out of one of the programming language we teach. So he actually wanted to, he was into music already. So he used to play drums and guitar, but he wanted to create his own instrument where he could also have guitar chords and drum beats in one single instrument. So that I thought was a very innovative idea, and that is why I concluded that there are going to be inventions and innovations like this in the realm of technology. uh, so the next point is dive into universal programming language. So looking at the trend of programming languages advancements, I think I'm not sure if it is a popular opinion, but I think there is going to be a universal programming language out there. So you don't need to learn different languages to do particular tasks. There will be just one programming language, and then you can get different things done. but I'm not sure how soon it is going to be. um, and yeah, so if you know coding in future, you will be able to dive into your universal programming language, uh, and yeah, the transition will be much smoother than those who are learning, who will be learning it then. um, Now the next is what coders, in bracket robots, cannot do in future. So I have mentioned robots because coder is a person, and coding is a skill set. So I won't term something that coders cannot do. As a person, of course they can do it, but uh, if you are talking about robots, now robots cannot create art. That is a that comes with, of course they can, if they have something programmed, they can create something, but that needs to be done by a human. They cannot create art. uh, Empathy, it is a human ability. I don't think so artificial intelligence is there yet to and I'm not even sure that they will be able to achieve empathy in robots. But yeah, understanding human needs is what we humans can do, and the robots can't. Then, of course, professions like doctors, teachers, uh, cannot be replaced by coders. Of course, to perform a surgery, you need to you need, it depends on the situation and a specialized knowledge. That is why doctor, and in if we are talking about teaching, to simplify, to get into a child's mind and to simplify content for him, that only a teacher can do. Of course, if you don't simplify it, if you just put out the knowledge there on the website, it will be too boring. And if you oversimplify it for the kid, it will you will miss out the important points. So of course there has to be a teacher who understands the children's needs, and you know curate the curriculum accordingly. So of course they won't coding won't replace these jobs, but it will make these jobs easier, no doubt. And without coding you cannot survive. Now uh, this is such a myth, or or a lie. Now, as I said, coding is a skill set, and you can survive without it, of course. This is a common opinion of tech companies and politicians, because as discussed earlier, tech companies rule the countries, and because we are moving in a digitally advanced stage where we are getting things done from the robots and all the technologies at our service, and they are generating high revenues. And politicians are after, of course we all know that politicians are after this money, and uh, that is why this is a common opinion that without coding you cannot survive. So it is a fear that is instilled uh, uh, in the community, or in the people, that if you have no knowledge of coding, or if your children's cannot code, they cannot survive in the future job market, which I don't think is the case. We have already discussed some examples about doctors, teachers, etc. um, Now the next point is, what should be the right approach to start? Okay, so if you're a parent who is willing to enroll your kid in some coding classes, or if you're a child watching this seminar and want to know how to start this journey, so for parents, please keep in mind, this is very important. What by enrolling your child in a coding class, or by teaching him yourself how to code, is is an opportunity for the child to explore the world of programming. All right, so just keep in mind that your child is not your investment. All right, so I know there are a lot of ideas out there that child at this age has become an entrepreneur. He's earning in crores. and we know for the fact that how many of these ideas are true. But please keep in mind, your child is not your investment. You are just giving him an added advantage, or an opportunity to explore the world of programming, and spend quality and constructive screen time. Nowadays, we know that children are, because of the pandemic, there is a lot of screen time, due to the schools and other classes going online. Children spend a lot of time on screen, and so one might think that why another class, or why coding to add to those screen times. Now, um, apart from just lectures and online classes, children also spend time on their phone, and watching television, and playing games. So instead of playing games, watching television, spending or playing games on your phones, why not teach them how to build one? That is a good approach to, for the kids, to start coding. Why not build your own game? Why not put your ideas into through coding, and create your own games? uh, why not create your own, using the knowledge of coding, why not create something which you and other kids can use, right? So now, for the parents, expect no immediate outcomes. Now, as I said, parents nowadays, they think that, okay, my child is learning coding, now he should be able to create websites, build high-end web games, and mobile apps, and he should start his own business. And this is, of course, not the case. We are here just to learn coding, not to monetize the knowledge. If it was so easy, why would there be still graduation courses for coding, right? For computer science. So it is not that easy, and please don't expect any immediate outcomes from your children. Uh, as I said, let them explore, and do not. This is very important. Do not force your child to learn to code. All right. Now, I have seen some parents. Now, this is a typical Indian mentality, that if my neighbor's kid is doing, my child should also do it. So, this is what we are going to avoid while starting this journey. Please do not force your child to learn to code. You can, you know, so again, I'll say, let them explore. uh, you just have to sit back and watch. If the child is liking it, then you know guide him, and uh, enroll him for more courses, or encourage him to learn more online through free web resources. uh, so yeah, do not force your child to learn anything just because your neighbor's kid is doing it. The next point is, your child is not your. Oh yeah, so I already said this. This should be the first point actually. Your child is not your investment. Um, don't expect them to be entrepreneurs, or who own tech companies, as they show it in advertisements nowadays. That children are deploying their games and apps and earning in crores or something. This is um, so yeah, don't see your child as your investment. And without ignoring the child's okay, so this is very important. So um, if you want your child to learn code, please, please, please do not ignore his or her unique abilities. uh, Children should learn coding, but not at the expense of ignoring their abilities. If he's good at something else, I actually, before any kid joins my class, I actually talk to the parent and the kid, just to understand the reason behind why they want to join it. And if I see that the child is not interested and he is being forced upon to learn this, um, I simply tell the parents, why don't you encourage him for what he likes, right? So don't compromise your child's unique abilities just for the sake of learning to code. What is that? which is the upcoming trend right now. So don't do that, please. And yeah, of course, coding can help in many in developing many abilities, but if they are something other than coding, please don't force your child. um, Now the second point is it a must? Okay, now this is a total, so this is my point of view. I may not be true, it may not be true, you may not agree on it, but I would like to pinpoint some things that I have noticed. Now, for example, in most of your, as I said, coding will accelerate most of the professions, not all of them. I'm not saying all of them. Uh, it will accelerate your career in most of the professions you choose. Um, Now, let's take a scenario where for example, if there is a marketing guy, if there is a marketer, and if there is a, let's say, um, copywriter, and for example, if they are working in a company, and if a marketer is if there are two marketers, for example, in a company, and if one knows how to code, the web developers will tend to, work with the one who knows to code more than the other one, because the conversation becomes easier, because with a prior knowledge of coding, you can get a sense of real goals, real uh, turnaround time of a project, or uh, so yeah, you get a sense of how much efforts web developers have to put in the idea which you want to inculcate in the project. So it becomes an add-on advantage for you if you know coding. uh, Now, yes, as we discussed, it is an opportunity to explore, and it is a skill, not a criterion for survival. Of course, we have already discussed about doctors, teachers. You can survive without it. You can work without it, but it is not a criterion for survival. It is just a skill, but an important one, of course. um, Now, job insecurities are inevitable. Now, most of the parents I know, they are very insecure about the job market for their kids, uh, and these are inevitable. So I know you might have read some articles which say that most of the jobs in future are going to be replaced by robots and artificial intelligence. So and that is what builds insecurity. So for a fact, what I think is, uh, even coders can be insecure about their jobs, because with machine learning and AI, artificial intelligence, they are trying to automate code, and wherein coders will have to operate on a very higher level of abstraction, and uh, the attention needed at a lower level will be reduced. So even coders, even some coders might lose their jobs. So we never know. So yeah, so it is a subjective opinion to your personal aspiration. So again, I'll take that example. If you want to become a doctor or a surgeon, yeah, I don't think so you need a knowledge of coding in that depth. But yeah, as a kid, you can just explore, learn, and have fun. um, and yes, of course, look out for it. Is coding a must? That depends on the skills that align with your interest. Okay, so if you're interested in something else which has no uh, which doesn't need coding as a prerequisite, then it's your call if you want to learn coding. Now I will demonstrate this with a very basic example. Now, coding is like driving a car. If you know how to drive a car, uh, it if you know how to drive a car, you can get to places wherever you want faster, and you don't have to rely on anyone. And why am I comparing this? Because if you know how to code, in big companies they have major projects, and they have many projects, and less time to deal with the problems. And if you are a part of a big company, and if you want to be more self sufficient, then you can and if you then you should know how to code, so that you get things done without anybody's help. So that will definitely save you your time. And for those who do not know how to drive a car, or those who do not know how to code, of course they can travel to places. It's just that they might have to take a public transport, or a lift. Yeah, and in talking in terms of coding, if you don't know how to code, of course you have to rely on somebody else to do that work for you. But yes, of course you can get your work done. It's not impossible. uh, but yeah, you actually have an added advantage if you know how to code in the job market. Now my next point is, how should I introduce my child to the coding world? So as I said, again I'm repeating the points because I want to impress upon parents' mind that your child is not your investment. Start with free resources if you're dicey, uh, if you're dealing with if you have some confusion regarding whether it is a good fit for my child. You can start with the free resources, which I'm going to show you in a bit. And Okay, so if you have already started with the free resources out there available on the internet, and if you think that your child is doing good, but he's not that much motivated, or if he is getting stuck somewhere and he's not getting help, then that is where we classes like the Coding Key Academy comes into place, where we help facilitate learning of coding. um, so yeah, get help, go out, look for communities or classes which teach or help coders and children to learn how to code. And don't enroll for courses your child has no interest in. Exactly. So um, I will talk about this more in depth after I show you the resources. You'll get a better picture of that when I show you the resources. So uh, if your kid is just to give you a gist of this point, if your kid is interested in robotics, I don't think so going for a language like JavaScript is necessary. I know that JavaScript also with using JavaScript you can code robots using an extension or something. But I think if he's not interested in web development, and if he or her is interested in robotics, why not go for Python or C++? So don't enroll for courses which your child is not interested in doing. uh, and now I will come to the list of resources which I have made for the parents and the kids. So oh yeah, before we do that, ask the right questions. So whenever you are willing to invest your time and money to help your child learn to code, uh, you ask the right questions to yourself. What will my child gain from this? How will they use it? How is my child going to use this thing? Is it worth the time and money? Of course. Is it worth your child's time and your money? And does it solve their problem? Now, if you want, you can take a screenshot. You can actually take a screenshot of my screen and literally ask these questions before you invest in learning how to code. And now I'll go to the resources. This is
Omkar, sorry, I just want to interrupt with one small thing.
yeah, yeah.
In the chat, I'm posting a link to ask questions. So if anyone really wants to ask questions, please ask questions. Sorry, Omkar, I just wanted to tell the audience that.
Yeah, no problem. Are there any questions right now in the chat box?
There are, but let's keep the questions for the second session. That is a panel discussion.
Okay.
Yeah,
All right. Thank you,
yeah.
Tanya. So now moving on to the resources. Yes, so these are the free resources that we use at the Coding Key Academy, and even you can go on these websites and start your child's coding journey. So there is code.org. Now I will give you the specifics about these uh, resources in a bit. We use Scratch Junior and Scratch, which is developed by MIT. Then we use MIT App Inventor. Uh, we also use Autodesk Tinkercad, and then there is Microsoft MakeCode, and we also use Arduino platform, Arduino IDE for coding. Now the first one is Code Monkey. Now the platform, this is available on web. The age is 4 to, if your child is 4 to 11 years old, then you can definitely try this Code Monkey. It is a very cute website. Actually, I'm going to go to that website and show it to you. Code Yeah, so here you can code a monkey to catch the bananas. So there are more than 200 free challenges in this. uh, uh, Now I will go to Code Monkey website. uh, before I navigate to the website, Tanay, I would like to ask you: do we have? So I have listed down 15 to 18 free resources. So do we have time to actually go on the website and show to the parents how it works?
We have around 10 minutes, if it's possible within that time frame. I don't know.
Oh, no, no, no. So, guys, what you can do is you can quickly take a screenshot and look for yourself which one is the best fit for your kid. Uh, so yeah, but I have given you an idea what it does. Now the second one is Scratch Junior. Now this, if your child is 5 to 7 years old, you can go to Scratch Junior. It is available on iPhone, iPad, Kindle, and Chrome extensions. I know Chrome extension part is a bit tricky one for Scratch Junior, but it works very well on Kindle, iPhone, and iPad. Now in Scratch Junior, kids use drag and drop code blocks to create their games and stories. All right. Now the third one is code.org. Now this is a very how do I put it? They have many things, or let's call it interdisciplinary, not interdisciplinary, but I would say that they have a variety of things that kids can do on code.org. Now this is available on web, and if your kid is K-12 and higher, if your kid's age is in K-12 range, and higher education, children can also go on code.org and register themselves. They have great basics of programming lessons, and they can create apps, websites, and games using HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and more. And all these lessons are free. Now when I say that they can create apps, websites, and games, please keep in mind these are not those high-end apps and games which you see are commercially there on app stores, and which huge companies invest into create these games. These are not that type of games, but yeah, a basic website, or an app, or a game you can create using these resources. um, don't push your child to be an entrepreneur after they learn how to code. So yeah, these are just basic apps, websites, and actually they are visually very pleasing. But of course they are not ready to deploy and stuff. You can't monetize these apps created by children. uh, Now the Okay, moving on to the fourth one is Lightbot. Now this platform, this is available on the platform iPhone and iPad. Windows, Mac, Kindle, and web. Now, if you're the age group is 4 to 8 years and nine years and above. Now, this is game-based platform lessons. This will teach you sequencing, overloading, procedures, conditions, etc., and many concepts like this. Now, the fifth one is Daisy the Dinosaur. Again, a cute app which is available on iPhone and iPad. If your kid is 6 to 8 years, if you want to learn block-based programming, you can learn basics like objects, loops, sequencing, and events. Okay, then the sixth one is Cargo Bot. It is available on Windows, iPhone, and iPad. It is for 6 and above age group, and it is game-based learning. There are 30 free levels where you can learn concepts of coding through a game. Seventh is Stencil. Stencil is another game-based learning platform, and it is available on Android, iPhone, iPad, Mac, Windows, and Linux. It is for age 6 and above. Now, eighth one is Tinker. Tinker has got really some really good this thing STEM-based learning courses. Now you can build games, apps, code robots, drones, create Minecraft challenges. Um and the ninth one is Swift Playground. Now, Swift Playground is actually you are coding in a 3D environment. Okay, sorry. So it's available on iPhone and iPad only. The age group is 7 and above. Code in 3D environment to complete goals and challenges. Uh, so yeah, there is a 3D environment, and you have to uh, code it and complete the goals given to you, assigned to you. 10th is scratch.mit.edu. This is my favorite. This is the one I teach to the kids at the Coding Key Academy. This is available on iPhone, iPad, and also web. I don't know why I did not mention that. It is for age group 8 to 16, but we take from 7 and above, um, because we have different curriculums developed for different age groups. So this is again a block-based programming, very easy to use to create interactive stories, animations, simulations, music videos, and games, quizzes, and a lot of other stuff. So yeah, this one's my favorite. Um, get 11th one is gethopscotch.com, and this is again available on iPhone, iPad, and web. This is for age 8 plus, and here you can create animations, games, mini Minecraft versions, art, and interactive projects. The 12th one is Free Code Camp. This is actually for a higher age group. So this is available on web. It is for age 12 and above. You Here you can get lessons on HTML5, CSS, JS, jQuery, React, front end, back end development, and automated testing. That is why it is for a higher age group. Code Combat. Okay, so Combat is available on web. It is for age 12 and above. There are 39 free levels where you learn coding syntax, methods, parameters, strings, loops, and variables. I guess they also have a collaborative combat thing in it. I'm not pretty sure. Uh, but yeah, this one is also a good one. Now, Codemoji. Now, this was a brilliant idea. I don't know who has made this thing, but uh, now this is available on web. It is for age 6 to 12 years. Now, learning coding using emojis that represent blocks of code in HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. Uh, I would definitely recommend you to visit this website once so that you understand this better. So you have to use emojis uh, to which are which has a meaning in which are uh, you know related to syntax in HTML, CSS, or JavaScript, and then you have to build a code out of it using the emojis. It is very fun, and it is visually appealing. Fifth is Tinkercad. Okay, so this talking about coding, we use this to teach children how to code to design 3D objects. Now it is available on web. It is for 4 to 12 years of age group, and here you can learn to code digital 3D shapes and create 3D designs and code circuits and etc. So if we would have more time, I would have actually gone to the website and showed you some projects that our kids have done. But yeah, this is one of the platform we use to teach kids. Now there is MIT App Inventor. Here you can create fully functional apps for smartphones and tablets. It is available on web, and it is for age group 6 to 12 years. Now BeetleBlocks, it is again similar to Tinkercad's one aspect of creating 3D designs using coding. So it is available on web. It is for age group 12 and above. Here you learn to code 3D digital designs ready to be 3D printed. So kids who do this course, they create 3D shapes using a particular code, and then we 3D print it and send it to the kids. So this is also one of my favorite websites. Microsoft Make Code. Now this is all about electronics. If you want your child to learn about microcontrollers, if you want them to create arcade games, code robots, etc., this is a free website by Microsoft. It is available on web, and the age group is 9 to 15 years. They also have projects and tutorials for children to start to kickstart the journey. And yeah, here this is how you can connect with us. And I won't spend much time on promoting myself, but yeah, you can just take a screenshot and I'll move on. So yeah, now we'll move on to the Q&A session, and I would like to thank Equal Experts and the team for inviting me for this seminar. And yeah, all the questions are welcomed. I'll stop screen share now. Thank you, and thank you parents for attending this seminar. All right, Tanay, all yours.
Yeah, should we take a 5 minutes break, or what do you think? This question goes to both Omkar as well as Anay.
I'm good. I can sit for longer. Like no need of break for me. You can go ahead.
Anay, what do you think?
I think in the interest of people's time, right? Maybe I think we can do this in 15 minutes or something. We can just do a quick question answers round, and then everybody could be free for their weekend day.
Okay, fine. Yeah. So yeah, so I'll introduce Anay. So Anay works with Equal Experts, and he's joining the panel discussion now. And yeah, Anay, I know him from a very long time. I think I know him from my college time, and he was, I think, co-founder of PresentSoft, and now I think the company is no more. But yeah, I think I know you since then, and yeah. Anna is with TD, and he's with Equal Experts, and he's involved in like all the XP practices like TDD and stuff. And currently he is a mobile lead at Equal Experts. So in interest of time, I'm just going to rush through this a little bit. So let's jump on to uh, the first question. So uh, the first question is, can kids go on with long screen time without affecting their health? Like, what if they get addicted to screen time? So let's start with Anna, and then let's move to Omkar.
Being a parent myself, this is a bit of a difficult question because I know how kids are. They do get used to phones, watching videos or something like that. And no matter what, like how quickly they learn a language or something, one thing I've realized is they can open Netflix pretty fast on their phones. Uh, and maybe other videos also, and also uninstall the apps. So, but on the other hand, right, doing everything more than what is required is harmful, right? Playing a lot can get your kid tired. Eating a lot can make them sick. Similarly, being on a screen time for long can actually make them tired. So what is actually required over here is a kind of, if at all your kid is interested, so not by forcing him, like, please do this, please attend this Zoom session, please attend, please do this programming kind of stuff, not by forcing him. But if he really likes to do it, then doing it in a moderation is something which parents would need to look at. Omkar?
Yeah. So I have I won't answer the question because Anay has already done that part. I will actually give you guys a solution to this. So if you want your kids to learn coding and don't have don't if you want them not to spend much time on the screen learning how to code, I actually have a resource for that as well. So in our classes, in our physical classes, we used to have fun activities which were outdoors, and this is a very new concept for most of the coding classes, that they are taking outdoor activities to learn code. But I would like to share my screen and show it to the parents if you allow me. Can I share my screen? Yeah. All right.
Sure.
So
Yes, please go ahead.
yeah, thank you. So if you go on to this website, Coding Unplugged, here I'm going to copy paste this thing. You get a lot of activities which are which the kids can learn coding without actually spending time on screen. uh, uh, of course, this is a practice. It is not the case that you don't have to spend time at all, but it will substantially reduce the screen time of your child. So I'll just put so this I will leave it in the chat box. Answered. Okay. So, okay, I will
Yeah,
put the
should we move
link
to
in
the?
the.
Sorry.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'll just add one more point. Is there is this some fancy idea about what programming is, but at the end of the day, right, programming is nothing but just using some simple things and building something bigger. There is something which most of the kids already do, and that is they play with Legos. So that's also a kind of programming. So if they can build complex shapes by using those simple different pieces together, well, they are already developing a programming mindset. You just need to encourage it. So think that programming means moving a cat or building an iPhone app, that's probably a or far extended fancy image of what programming is.
True.
Yeah, cool. So the other question we have is, are there any clubs, groups? Of course, it's pandemic time, so you can't really go out and hang out. But uh, do you know of any clubs, groups for kids in this programming thing where they can hang out, discuss, and kind of have fun, play around with this? Let's start with Omkar and move to Anay.
Okay. So, talking about groups, uh, 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 so there are many websites which I already showed you guys that has online community where kids actually collaborate and create projects. So, and also they will help you out if you are stuck at some point in your programming, in your project. Other kids across the globe can help you out. So one of them, and one of my favorite, is Scratch. Scratch has their own online community. There is If you are using Arduino IDE, there is Arduino also has a online community where you can collaborate or share or discuss your problems. And there are many more. I guess code.org also has one online community. But yeah, there are many communities out there if you search, which can help your kid if they are stuck or if they want to collaborate projects. So yeah.
Anay?
Yes, I may not be able to talk more about what groups exist in Pune, but in Goa there are certain groups which do try to do that. Probably this year it didn't happen because of the COVID lockdown situation. But there are groups which is run by a organization called, or a volunteer group called as Goa IT Professionals, and it's called Project Geet. Uh, so that group basically tries to do summer camps around this idea. It's So we actually have one of the attendees. His name is Saish Gandhi. He had actually organized a whole session on programming through Scratch for kids at Entertainment Society of Goa during Science Film Festival of India. I think 1 or 2 years back. So some events like this do happen, and I think it's good if parents try to follow up on those events and make sure participate in those camps.
And I think I sorry I think I forgot to tell this in your intro, but I think you also have some experience in teaching kids coding, right?
Yeah, some bit.
Okay, fine. Yeah. Just to add to Anay's point previously, so Anay did mention about Legos as something other apart from programming to build your logical skills. Omkar, do you think do you know anything else other than Legos which can be used like for building
So
uh,
I know
programming
there
logic?
it is a part of Lego. So there is something called Lego Mindstorm, where you can create robots using the Lego blocks and coding the microcontrollers in it. That is one way to do it. And there are many computational or let's say uh, tinkerable objects out there. There are also many kits out there which you don't need to, spend screen time. You can just code it. The everything is inbuilt in those kits, and it's just like Lego Mindstorm. There are many. There's Lego Boost. So I work on Scratch, and Scratch has an extension to code these things. That's why I know Lego Mindstorm, Lego Boost. But I'm pretty sure there are many other things just like Lego, where you can code the objects and tinker with them.
Okay,
So yeah.
nice. Anna, do you have anything more to add? I mean, you
No,
already spoke
essentially,
on this,
to
but
a
yeah.
great extent, right? Even origami, right, basically tries to take a paper and tries to do a simple folding, like, it's just normal folding, fold a paper half, fold it in this angle, etc. They're just simple folds, but
Yeah.
eventually you get a nice shape, right?
Yeah.
All of that is a programming, right? If you leave out the fancy aspect of it.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. Uh, there's another interesting question. So, can kids, can the kid at home simplify his or her work by automating things? Uh, uh, I don't know if you know any example, maybe homework. I don't know if people are allowed to do their homeworks like that, but is there something that the kid can simplify by automating? Let's start with Anna and move to Omkar.
Um, so that's actually an interesting question. I think that probably demands a further understanding on what exactly the kid is trying to simplify. But I think for kids, the idea is not to simplify. For kids, the idea is to enjoy and have fun, right? They are not going to make profits of something that is going to happen. The only profit they have is is a better knowledge that they get, and the fact that they enjoyed their day. That's what generally matters. So rather than simplifying things by building some solutions, I think probably what we should be looking at, were they happy doing it?
Yeah.
Omkar,
So
what do you think?
I would like to add to that point that kids do not, they tend to simplify things using technology, not consciously, but just to explore. Just while exploring, they tend to simplify things. So there was this one student uh, who was telling me about how he uses Google Calendar for his schedule, and keeping up with the appointments and everything. So that is one way, and to simplify your scheduling, right? And then there was some other kid who wanted to create a automated trash can for his room. So that is an application, just to simplify his work. He doesn't want to open a lid. It will just open with the sensors, and then he throws things in it, and then that is kind of simplifying your daily life. And uh, but yeah, they don't do it consciously, but with their curious and explorative minds, they tend to solve their problems.
Was this done using Scratch or something?
So the I'm talking about the trash can that was done using Tinkercad. So I
Okay.
actually 3D print and gave it to them. So he
Uh-huh.
designed it, and then he coded the electronics, and yeah, so he did it like that.
Nice, nice. Okay, moving to one of the hot questions of today. So there are some big companies. I'm sorry, I can't name them, but they have really expensive programming courses, and they make huge promises like your child can be a CEO of some company or something like that. I think Omkar has touched based on that a bit in his talk. My internet is bad, so I missed a bit of your talk. But yeah, I think Omkar touched a bit on that. And yeah, so another question along the same lines. Parents think that are pressurized in thinking this. So there's another question: how can I get uh, Google to hire my kid if he learns coding on his own? Omkar, and then maybe Anne.
Okay, so again, we won't mention the name, but I would like to point out the aggressive marketing strategy of the company, where they knew the Indian market and the Indian mentality of parents about job insecurities they have for their children, like what will happen if my so the way they advertised this learning how to code was not put in the right way. They so Looking at those ads and campaigns, parents started looking at their children's as an investment. And in my presentation also I said, don't look at your child as an investment. So a middle class Indian family who is looking at that ad might think, okay, so if I enroll my child for this expensive course, which is actually which costs actually triple the average salary of an Indian. If I enroll my child for this course, he will be able to earn more. He will become an entrepreneur and earn more using this knowledge of coding, building apps and websites. So somewhere down the line, I think they compromised on the importance of learning this skill set, uh, and try to monetize this. But yeah, parents, we it is actually we at fault as well, because we bought it. We thought, okay, my child will become an entrepreneur and earn this amount. So yeah, so as we discussed, the approach to start coding, you should keep in mind that it is just for their fun and exploration, and some learning, not to monetize it. So yeah, that is where I would like to end it. uh,
Anna?
So yes, I do get where this question is coming from. It's been asked in various different places as well, and Omkar actually gave a very good answer. But Omkar did mention another good point: is like, your child is not your investment. Don't look at what he's trying to do from the perspective of how much money is he going to make today or later. Essentially, you see, making your child, getting your child to make money is some kind of child labor, and that's legally, ethically, and morally wrong, right? So don't fall for these advertisements as far as possible, no matter who makes it or who says about it. Let your child enjoy the childhood. Let him learn. Let him enjoy with his friends. Let him connect with people. Like, let him grow on his own. So that should be the focus.
Yeah, let's move to the next question. That was a really nice answer, both of you. Uh, so the next question is, I think, around stress that the kids have. So there are two questions that I found matching over here. Why is there a skepticism or a common dilemma among parents regarding joining the school after, joining the after school programming classes? So the kid attends school and then programming classes. There's another question saying that I think adding it to the curriculum will add up to the competition and stress. So what do you think? Let's start with Anya and move to Omkar.
Can you repeat the question, please?
So there are two questions which are kind of matching. So uh, there's a skepticism or a common dilemma among parents. My voice is clear, right, Anne? Or is
Yes,
it
yes,
like
yes. It is. It is.
because I'm having internet issues? Yeah. So the question is, why is there a skepticism or a common dilemma among parents regarding joining the after school programming classes? So attending school and then programming classes is what I assume is meant from this question. And the second question, which goes along the same lines, is that I think adding it to curriculum will add to more competition and stress for the kid. So what do you think? What are your comments on this?
Uh, I'll answer the second question first.
Okay, fine.
Adding it to the curriculum. So that is true that your curriculum should not be loaded, but at the end of the day, right? The way I say it is the curriculum should also be simple enough. If you see the way history is taught, like for example, the formed and taught, it just becomes like distinct set of ideas or points in the story which kids need to by heart, right? You cannot take one point and build from there through your intelligence. Same thing happens with most of the other stuff as well. In languages, you need to learn or by heart the grammar and do something. You're not building on it, right? Your education is not making you to write a poetry, for example. So essentially the burdening is happening because you are forcing the child to do something that does not come naturally to it. Your child wants to explore, your child wants to build on something. uh, Programming, on the other hand, like I'm not talking about the fancy word of programming, like making him do a Java programmer, etc., something like that. But a nice programming, where a kid can have fun, helps them to learn by building on something small. They do not have to by heart, thousands rules of grammar or fail because you got one spelling wrong and one equation wrong in your mathematics or something like that. But it could be based on what they really try to build and have fun. And if that could be incorporated into the curriculum, that's actually going to make them a thinker, right? They are going to be better people, they are going to be better humans, they are going to be better citizens. If done in that way, then that's probably a right approach, but that depends a lot on teachers and the way the actual curriculum gets formed. So probably I'll not speak more on that till we see how the curriculum gets formed around this. uh, the second question is, uh, I think the reason why people get worried, it is not you. If you see, they do not get worried when their kids go to maybe karate classes or dance classes or something like that. But I think to a great extent, what parents really want is they must be sitting in the classroom throughout the day. Let them have some activity at the end of the physical activity at the end of the day. And coding can be perceived as an additional screen time or just more time sitting in front of something, not moving around much. Um, so probably we need to strike a balance between everything.
Yeah, thanks. Nice answer. Omkar.
The actually, Anay, that was so on point and so well described that I don't have any answer, but I would just like to add to it. Uh, Talking about skepticism and a dilemma about joining the after school classes, uh, I would like to say that skepticism comes from something that you don't know, or someone, if someone is sharing that okay, this program did not go well for my kid, then you become skeptic because this is our Indian mentality. We can't help it, we always compare with others. So if there is a parent who comes up to me and says that this program did not work for my kid, then you think that okay, this won't work for my kid as well. So that is where people start getting confused whether to opt for these courses or no. And the other one is most of the people, most of the parents do not know what is going on in these coding classes. That is one of the major reasons that they don't want their kids to learn coding, because they think coding is just for intelligent people who will sit and write code. But coding for children is totally different ball game. It is supposed to be fun. It is supposed to be collaborative, and not and not something that will bore your child. So yeah, and I must say, if your child is really getting bored doing a coding class, then you should look out for some other classes other than coding. Yeah, don't force them, again I would say. But yeah. So yeah,
Yeah, nice
that's my
answer
take on
by
that.
both Omkar and Anay.
Thank
I,
you.
I, I, I very much agree to this because even as a kid, my parents never forced me, but they kind of offered, do you want to go for singing? Do you want to go for some karate classes? I was like, nah, nah, nah. Maybe because I was interested in coding and maybe there were no coding classes at that time. But yeah, I think you're right because every child is different. Every child has a different interest. So what you're saying makes sense. So there's another question. Will early coding help my child get into an IT company? So I think this is people are worried like how early we should put kids, like for maybe when they're 4 years old, 2 years old. I don't know. It's the companies out there are posting such ads that it's getting crazy. The number is coming down. It's coming close to zero, the age. So yeah, will early coding help my child to get into an IT company? Is the question. Can start with Omkar.
Okay, this okay, so this question is actually funny. If by this question, if you mean that it will increase the chances of your child getting into IT company, if that is what you meant, then somewhere down the line, it will be an added advantage. But sole coding in early childhood will not you know directly get him placed in an IT company. Of course, he'll have to go through the CS computer science graduation, because that is where in-depth knowledge of that subject is given. So as I always say, uh, you know they should just enjoy, have fun, and in the background, their skills will keep on growing. So be it cognitive skills, or be it problem solving ability or resilience, these skills will keep on growing, which will uh, uh, which will eventually help them in pursuing higher education in that field, but not necessarily it will guarantee a job for the kid. So yeah, that's my 2 cents on the topic, on the question.
Nice answer. Yeah. Anay?
uh, let's look at relatively, right? People go for dance classes. They do not. It need not be the fact that they grow to be a professional dancer. People go for karate classes or kung fu classes or judo classes. They do not become professional bodyguards or Jackie Chan or something like that. Uh, it's more like a hobby, right? The fact is that at that point of time, kids do it to expand their mind, expand their vision, expand their learning, and expand their interests. Based on that, if the more interest they know they have, they can easily choose their career options properly when they grow and they need to make a decision about their career. Uh, but this I feel is a very limited perspective, that you should probably do this just because it is going to increase the chance of, well, uh, a child who dances early or learns to dance early, his chance of becoming a professional dancer is definitely higher as compared to the child who doesn't do it. And so if you are just looking at the chance, then yes, the chances are really higher. uh, but depending on how your child perceives it, right, it goes both the ways. Mathematics is taught in schools and colleges, and mathematics is fun. I don't know whether people agree to me or not, but mathematics is fun. And depending on how your child perceives it, either he'll grow to hate it or he'll grow to like it. But even if he grows to like it, he's not going to be a mathematician. uh, so let's keep that also in mind.
Yeah, I think as a software engineer myself, I kind of agree with this, that I myself started learning early. And the early for me was 17 and definitely not like 4 years old. So yeah, if I started learning when I was 4, I might have started hating, I don't know. But I started early and for me it was 17 and I love coding. So that's the thing from me. Let's move to the next question. So the next question is coding in future is going to change. So isn't it too early to for kids to learn coding right now? I think as a software engineer, I agree that everything in software industry changes rapidly, and I think this is worry about like teaching their kids coding, and whatever is taught will be outdated. Let's start with Anna and then move to Omkar.
Uh, so that literally applies to everything, right? Probably when we were young, we never saw smartphones, right? Today, an entire industry is based on smartphones. Uh, so does it mean what we learned back then is of no use today? That's definitely not the case, right? There used to be a lot of emphasis on handwriting when we used to learn, right? Today, most of us just type. Like, nobody cares about what your handwriting was back then. But should the child not learn to write with his hand and not try to follow a better handwriting? Uh, I, to some extent, do not agree. I think what definitely goes off is the weightage of it. Like, for example, should you really bore your child to that if he's not having a good writing? I would rather say no. right? Make it fun for him. Like, it's not depending, just because he has a very good handwriting, that is not going to make him a very rich person in the world, or even a better human being for that matter. But there is this concept of discipline, right, which comes into picture. When you try to do whatever you're trying to do, at least try to do it better. That's the idea behind it. So in the same way, we really do not know what the future is, but we should be ready for the future. If we know where that future came from, then we are better prepared for that future, right? Whatever that change is, it is going to be based on something that is happening today. So this is something we need to realize. Let's enjoy our present. Let's try to get as much as we get from the present and leave the worry for the future.
It's all about having fun, right?
Yes.
Yeah. No, nice answer, Anay.
Yeah, that was a great answer and to the question. So putting it in a layman's term, so I have this habit of, as I keep explaining to children, so I have this habit of making it very understandable to children. I don't know how much of the audience is including children in this, but putting it in a layman's term, I would say that in future we know that computers are going to be there and we have to interact with them. So I know some programming languages lose their not completely, but somewhere they lose their importance and new programming languages evolve. uh, there are many emerging programming languages. So I don't think so the knowledge of learning these programming languages will be of no use in future. Of course, where if there are new programming languages in the future, the basic foundation will be the same. So I don't think so that you should restrain your child from learning how to code just because there are new programming languages coming in the market, and you have the fear that the existing one will become obsolete. So yeah, you should keep learning, and then nobody knows what the future holds for the you know coders. So yeah.
Yeah, a nice answer, Omkar. I agree with the point where you said that the foundation will be strong. So, irrespective whether the language or whatever technology goes outdated or not. So yeah, I do agree that there are still languages like C which are used for a lot of low level stuff. They are not really outdated, even though they are kind of outdated, wherein very few people use them. So it's still valued to a certain extent. This is another interesting question that we have got. And this is the last question. I don't have any more questions. So the question is, I heard software engineers say that Scratch, Code.org, and other block-based kind of languages is not real programming. That's what software engineers say. So why should my kids learn that? I don't know how much I can comment on that because me being a software engineer, I never learned any block-based languages. I've just seen them from a distance. So yeah, let's start with Anna and go to Omkar. Or let's start with Omkar first. Sorry.
All right. So it depends what you think real programming is. Now, if we are talking about creating very high level programs or softwares, then of course you might think that block based is nothing in comparison to that. But if you see the fundamentals used in block based programming languages, I actually have a comparison image, but it will be very difficult in my to locate it in my PC. But if you see, Scratch and Python actually have very similar syntaxes. So it's just that kids do not type code. That doesn't mean it is not real programming. Of course, it is not at that level right now, but there is some learning going on of the basics. It is a good transition to start from block based to text based. And I think that is why these block-based programming languages are important. So yeah, it totally depends on what you look at real programming is. So yeah, that's my take.
Anay.
Yeah. I'll rather try and get this towards a more, main point, right? And this is a continuation to what Omkar just said. Is the goal is not to make your kid a programmer, right? The goal is to make your kid learn to solve problems, right? That's the main goal, right? It's a very limited idea that I feel like, that your child should be a programmer, right? No, he should be learning to solve the problems. Which kind of programming he wants to do or doesn't want to do is irrespective of it. We should teach programming so that they learn how to solve problems, not because they want to get something on the Play Store or things like that. But again, like, for somebody who's still probably not convinced, I think we should really come down to the concept of what is a real programming. Then in C, Java, or everything, we have things like for loops, right? In functional programming, the idea of for loop doesn't exist, right? They do have something to repeat stuff, but they are not loops the way we study it in Java or Pascal or C. Now, looking at these two separate ideas, right? Which of them would you call a real programming? If you look at the functional programming, just like on its own, Java and C doesn't look like a real programming then. And if you look at Java and C, then functional programming looks a bit academical and absurd. Uh, let's not get into that. I mean, that's not the perspective. They are tools. They are tools to solve your problem. Let's not ask which hammer is better. Let's just find out why we want to use the hammer, right?
Yeah, sounds yeah, that sounds really good. So yeah, I think it's still around like having programming as a fun thing uh, rather than making your kid a software engineer. It's them having fun and learning something as a hobby. Yeah, really nice discussion, Omkar, Anay. It was really fun. Do you have anything else to add to end this, Omkar?
Uh, so if you guys want, you can just contact me. I will provide all the free resources to you. I'm not promoting my classes here. It's just I want the kids to really start their coding journey with some free available resources. And I'm leaving my contact number in the chat box. Again, this is not for promoting my classes. So I'm going to leave my number here, and those, I guess I have seen some attendees attend very late, so in case you have missed it, you can just contact here and let me know. This is my number. Yep. And again, I would like to end it on a note that please do not see your child as in your investment, and enroll them or start their journey of coding just for them to explore and enjoy and create projects. That's it.
Thanks, Anay. Anything to add?
You're on mute,
Uh,
Anand.
yes, sorry. I'll just briefly mention that we will get this video on YouTube as well, for those who missed it out. And we are really looking for feedback from all the attendees, all the participants, and those who would be watching us on YouTube as well later. That would actually help us in planning for the next session better as well.
Yeah, I think we are at the end of the session. So thanks a lot, Omkar. Thanks, Anay, for taking your time out for the weekend. Thanks to
Thank you so
those
much.
attending online and taking your time out on a Saturday to attend
Honest.
this. Uh, you are very important. You as audience are very important, and also thanks to you in the future who are watching this currently on YouTube. Feel free to post feedback and comments down in the on the video. And yeah, thanks everyone.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Equal Experts. Thank you, Tanay. Thank you, Anay, for having me on this discussion. And thank you, parents and children, those who are attending. It was a pleasure to be here and discuss some important topics.